Here's a game called Spewer, which I found out about shortly after releasing the previous video in this series where I talk about the Bat Sweeper, which was originally released just months after Spewer had been. What was this? Had I copied it? The idea for the game came from a friend who suggested it to me out of the blue one day. Did he know? I don't know, and I didn't know, but I do know one thing. With another game of ours, called Spellinx, we didn't copy Magicka. We really didn't. And I have to make this clear because this video will make it obvious that we did. But we didn't. And to make matters worse, I made it with Tommy TTK, so it looked as though I tried to con him into making a cheap rip-off of Magicka as well, complete with spell combos, bearded old men, an odd sense of humour, and even a powerful insta-kill lightning strike. Here's Spellinx, the latest and greatest of the games that we worked on together. Looking back, old men with beards was a recurring theme for us. We did it with Christmas Combat, and again with Santa Satanas, and at one point in a Doom of the World style game where old men tried to rule the world or something. But Spellinx was older and beardier than ever before. Are you ready for our masterpiece? Just kidding. This was a very early little prototype that I made for it. I went through the stage of making these for everything that I worked on to try and get a feel for the actual project, which could then use the prototype as foundations to build upon. It wasn't long before it came together. Tom worked on the graphics and sound effects, with me on the coding. Multiplayer and controller support were essential, so we made a robust and flexible system for both, which would let players use whatever control system they wanted. We added a number of enemy types and a cool spell combo system where you memorise the spells you wish to use. Before long, you feel like a skilled wizard with a spell for every occasion. Another thing we were proud of was the levelling system, or the lack of one. A player on level 1 stands a good chance against one who's on level 100. Sure, you get more points to allocate between agility, health and spell strength, but even at the beginning you have enough to max out one of the three and can switch them around as you please depending on the situation. But what ultimately determined your power was your own ability to cast the right spells at the right times. We ended up with a very fun party game with a lot of potential, but sadly it fell apart when we started on the second area. Since it was made separately from the first, any bug fixes or new features thought up later would have to be added manually to both existing levels. By the time the game reached 20 or 30 zones, let alone more, it would have become an impossible task. There were workarounds that we could have used, but more on that later. What really made us give up was when we discovered Magicka. The game simply did it better than we could. I mean, there really is no comparison. It blows our game out of the water for graphics, gameplay, polish, and the fact that they actually finished it. But at least we hadn't copied it. And I know that because I remember thinking it up in my head in the back of the car as a child. It was just before some exams and I was wondering how much more fun revision would be at Hogwarts. And that's what the game would have been had I made it back then. An open world wizard school revision simulator. I just didn't do anything with the idea until months after Magicka had been announced, which believe me, annoys me more than it does you. We did some things better. The combinations were made out of just 4 buttons rather than Magicka's fiddly 8, which is a nightmare to do on a 4-way controller. Our points-driven skill system had great potential, as did the idea of an open-ended world. Plus the music was great. Thanks to Tom's brother for them, by the way. His tracks were even better than the ones from Santa Satanas and can be heard over on his SoundCloud channel. Check it out. Had we made this game with a level editor, it would have been possible to expand it across multiple areas and we might have even gotten a working game out of it. But I don't regret how this project went. It was a joy to work with Tom once again. No arguments, no problems, just lots of great ideas and the ability to pull them off. One of which was to advertise the game with a couple of making of videos. I headed over to his one beautiful summer evening and we had a blast, filming until the sunset. We joked about and had a great time making it. You really had to be there to appreciate it. We jokingly compared our game's graphics to real life, asking people to spot the difference. We likened the AI to cows bouncing about a field. And Tom got to play with water and mud, something he loves doing in his spare time. And now we have a lasting memory in the form of these videos and the game in its current, incomplete but certainly playable state. This, to me, is what game development is about, even if I never made anything anywhere near the standards set by others in the industry. And so concludes this series. I set out on this adventure almost 2 decades ago with the intention of making my dream game, but a lot has changed along the way, including what my dream game would be. It started as just being a poor rip-off of existing games, but as I developed my skills and gained experience, this dream game notion also evolved. Even if, with Spellinx, I ended up making a cheap rip-off of an existing game again. But that doesn't matter. My quest to make the dream game continues, but along the way I've made and finished many other projects that I have loved and learned from. With these, I've realised that there are a lot of red herrings and dead ends. but I've also picked up a lot of handy tricks and shortcuts with which to counter them. The best times are often the most unexpected ones, like when accidents happen, when you discover a cool new way to make 3D people, or when the physics go funky, or when you find a hilarious bug when playtesting it with friends. These are the things that I remember from my time developing games. The experience is about overcoming challenges and making tough decisions. It's not just about making a game, but about making your game, and watching with pride as your creation gradually takes shape and develops its own identity. It's at times like this when you realise that it's not about the end game, it's about the journey.
Go.
So yeah, thanks for watching this video. Now go download our game.
And go to indiepub.com and
sorry,
vote
this
for us
fly's getting
in
me.
the dev competition.
Sorry.
Oh, just ignore it.
No,
It's ruining everything.
I know.
The
Okay.
sun's going. Oh, go.
So yeah, thanks for watching this video. Now go download our game.
And go to indiepub.com and vote for it in the dev competition.
I'm an English person.
And so am I.
Bye!
Right. Oh, let's stop destroying this field. Yes. Before we get shot.